bro, I don't got to do nothing or call no shot. Like, bro, Dallas business. Like, you get what I'm saying? Nigga, you not from here. You not finna come over here thinking you finna run something.
The Dallas rap scene has seen some wild stories, but this one is on a whole new level. In a stunning twist, a newly resurfaced video appears to show Yella Beezy admitting to murder, completely unaware that the camera was rolling. The clip's sudden emergence has made investigators' job much easier, and now it seems only a matter of time before law enforcement closes in on figures like Go Yayo and Trap Boy Freddy. Let's dive straight into the shocking sequence of events that's rocking Dallas hip-hop. Yella Beezy has been arrested on a capital murder charge tied to the death of Mo3. Until recently, most fans had no idea that Beezy was even a person of interest in the case. But the resurfaced footage changed everything. In what feels like an instant, a snippet from an old interview made its way back into the public eye, reportedly featuring Beezy explaining how hits are handled in his hood. The video's reappearance sent shockwaves through the fan base. Not long after Mo3's tragic death, another high-profile incident put the spotlight back on Dallas. Rapper Boozy Badazz was shot in the leg near the Big T Plaza in Oak Cliff, Yella Beezy's stomping grounds. At the time, Boozy had been outspoken about running Dallas, which only added fuel to the fire. Then came the shocking moment. Yella Beezy, seemingly without hesitation, claimed his homies handle business so effectively that he never needs to give direct orders. This unexpected admission has left fans and authorities alike questioning how deep his involvement runs. One popular opinion floating around is that acting tough in a different neighborhood is just asking for trouble. But when it comes to Yella Beezy's involvement in Mo3's death, there's more to the story. Was he really admitting to personally taking down Mo3, or was something else at play? Here's what the case files suggest. The indictment alleges that Yella Beezy didn't pull the trigger himself. Instead, it points to a murder-for-hire scheme, one in which Beezy allegedly hired and paid a hitman to carry out the act. Interestingly, this lines up with a previous explanation Yella gave about Boozy's incident, though the authorities remain tight-lipped about their reasons for believing Beezy was behind Mo3's murder. Despite the silence, the streets are buzzing with theories. When prosecutors brought Yella Beezy into court for his bond hearing, they presented chilling footage. The video captured the horrific moment Mo3 was chased down and killed on the highway. Prosecutors didn't mince words, accusing Yella Beezy of orchestrating the hit, a calculated operation that ended in murder. The stakes are high. Beezy faces capital murder charges, which could lead to life in prison or even the death penalty if convicted. So how did law enforcement finally link Yella Beezy to the murder after all these years? Many believe the answer lies in those already in custody. Just weeks after Mo3's death, police arrested 21-year-old Quan White in connection with the killing. Although White pleaded not guilty to the murder charge, his arrest for possession of a firearm as a convicted felon has kept him behind bars. It's possible he and others have started talking, which may have helped authorities piece together the shocking puzzle. Currently, Quan White is serving 9 years for a gun-related charge, but here's where things take an unexpected turn. The investigation showed connections between White and Yella Beezy. At the time, Beezy wasn't officially on the radar. Then 5 months after the tragic shooting, another suspect came into the spotlight. In April 2021, Devin Maurice Brown was indicted and arrested for Mo3's murder. According to investigators, Brown had been making moves before and after the shooting, reportedly contacting witnesses and gathering information on Mo3's location. What really raised eyebrows was Brown's phone records. Authorities uncovered multiple calls and messages between Brown and White, both before and after the fatal incident. But despite these links, White denied knowing Brown or being part of any murder plot. The denial didn't stop authorities from digging deeper. It was becoming clear that this case wasn't as cut and dried as it might seem. Fast forward 4 years and suddenly Yella Beezy's name surfaces again. Fans were quick to comment, with some saying Beezy should have seen this coming. As one observer noted, if a British commentator could piece things together, the feds certainly weren't going to miss a step. Once Beezy was arrested, online discussions heated up. On Reddit, a user boldly predicted who might be arrested next, while many fans expressed frustration with the legal system. The controversy only deepened when a judge reduced Yella Beezy's bond from $2 million to $750,000, sparking outrage across social media. Critics didn't hold back. One Twitter user angrily declared, Typical judge lets this punk off. Impeach the judge. Hell, impeach his grandma too. However, the judge made it clear that Beezy wouldn't be out without facing strict conditions, leaving fans waiting to see what happens next. According to Billboard, Yella Beezy's bond conditions are strict. He's under house arrest with an ankle monitor, subject to random drug and alcohol tests, and has had to surrender his passport. Furthermore, Beezy is prohibited from owning firearms, making contact with any witnesses, victims, or persons of interest, and must obtain written court approval before traveling outside of Dallas. These stringent conditions are a stark reminder that the investigation is still in its early stages. Despite the case's infancy, Redditors have already started their own sleuthing. Some fans speculate that content creator Trap Lore Ross, TLR, previously hinted at Yella Beezy's involvement in Mo3's murder. On Reddit, many believe that YouTubers like TLR often provide valuable insights that help law enforcement build their cases. One user remarked that while they enjoy TLR's content, it feels so federal, suggesting that such creators indirectly pressure authorities into making indictments. This theory isn't new. Some think similar online content may have played a role in cases involving artists like YNW Melly and Young Thug, but whether or not YouTubers have a direct impact, one thing remains certain: the events that led to Mo3's tragic death trace back to fractured friendships that turned into bitter rivalries. What ultimately caused Mo3's downfall? It was a fight born within a circle of old friends turned enemies. This dynamic gave law enforcement a clear direction on where to look and who to investigate. The once close relationships among Mo3, Yella Beezy, and others quickly soured, making it easier for the authorities to piece together what happened. At the heart of the conflict lies a long-standing beef, one that was amplified in part by neutral figures who unintentionally contributed to the tension. Among these neutral figures was Sean Cotton of Say Cheese TV, a platform known for giving Dallas rappers a voice. Often likened to DJ Vlad, Cotton's role was significant. He grew up alongside artists like Mo3, Trapboy Freddy, and Yella Beezy, and became the go-to interviewer for their stories. Cotton explained that interviewing one party would often prompt the other side to speak up, intensifying the back-and-forth narrative. This cycle of interviews kept the drama alive, further fueling the rivalry that eventually spiraled out of control. Sean Cotton's effort to shine a light on Dallas rappers may have unintentionally stoked envy among them, ultimately breaking long-standing bonds. It all started when Sean began asking local artists to name their top 5 rappers in the area. While this question seemed harmless, it quickly ignited tension among the city's rising stars. Word on the street is that the beef between Mo3, Yella Beezy, Trapboy Freddy, and Go Yayo gained traction as they started achieving mainstream success. Go Yayo, in particular, claimed that jealousy was the root of the conflict. During early interviews, Yella Beezy appeared on friendly terms with Mo3. In fact, when Sean Cotton asked Yella to list his top 5 Dallas rappers, he included Mo3 in the lineup. At that time, Yella still respected his peers, but fame has a way of changing dynamics. As Yella's career took off, he began to see himself as the dominant figure in Dallas. In videos, Yella could be heard demanding respect from his community and asserting that he ran the streets. Around this period, Yella released the track "Goin' Through Some Things," which contained pointed jabs at Mo3, suggesting jealousy and accusing others of acting out of character. The accompanying music video was a massive hit, amassing nearly 50 million views on YouTube, but Mo3 was no slouch either. His music was gaining national attention, and he was securing major collaborations, including one with Boozy Badazz. Eventually, Mo3 landed a coveted deal with Epic Records. As both artists climbed the ladder of success, the rivalry between Mo3 and Yella Beezy intensified. Their battle for the title of King of Dallas mirrored the infamous feud between Young Dolph and Yo Gotti in Memphis. For Mo3 and Yella Beezy, tensions were brewing long before their rivalry became headline news. About 8 years ago, Mo3 shared in an interview with Sean Cotton that he and Yella had once resolved their differences. According to Mo3, the two managed to patch things up and move forward amicably, but that truce didn't last. Shortly after signing with Epic Records, Mo3's career was rocked by a tragic incident. On May 27, 2017, while performing at Club Phantom in Fort Worth, gunshots erupted. The chaos sent everyone diving for cover. Sadly, Hector Wilkins, an innocent bystander, lost his life in the shooting. When authorities investigated the scene, they ruled the incident gang-related. This revelation only deepened the trouble for MO3. The very next morning, U.S. Marshals raided MO3's home. As MO3 later recounted to Cam Capone, he was spending time with his young son when the Marshals arrived, catching him completely off guard. They arrested him and charged him with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, setting his bond at $100,000. Over the phone, in a Say Cheese TV interview, MO3 admitted he was looking at a potential 30-year sentence. Despite the weight of the charges, he remarked that the Marshals had allowed him to drive himself to jail, where he was welcomed by other inmates, like Tupac. The fallout was devastating. MO3 explained in interviews that he spent thousands on legal fees, which drained his finances. The club shooting and subsequent arrest caused his music career to take a nosedive. Promoters stopped calling, and performance opportunities dried up. Even Epic Records, which had once been eager to sign him, pulled out of their deal. Facing these setbacks, MO3 turned to his music for solace. After parting ways with Epic, MO3 released True Story, a track that eerily foreshadowed the hardships he was enduring. The song and its video revealed the struggles of an artist trying to rebuild after a career-shattering tragedy. In the video, MO3 is shown in a morgue, while an attendant casually tells someone over the phone that he had been shot and killed in his own city. MO3 claimed the club shooting that led to his arrest was actually a setup, and while he didn't provide every detail, fans began piecing the story together. Rumors circulated that Go Yayo, a Fort Worth native, had been involved. Witnesses at the time alleged that MO3 and Go Yayo were throwing opposing gang signs at one another in the club, escalating the tension before shots rang out. Dallas comedian Roy Lee, a known associate of MO3, soon found himself caught in the middle of the brewing animosity. When asked about the nightclub incident, Roy Lee made bold claims, stating that MO3 wasn't just up against Go Yayo or a few rivals, he was fighting against the entirety of Fort Worth and Dallas combined. Though meant as bravado, Roy Lee's comments weren't taken lightly. Rather than diffusing the situation, his remarks pulled him deeper into the growing conflict. Roy Lee began targeting Yella Beezy and Go Yayo in his comedic jabs, going as far as to accuse Yella of being robbed in his own city and questioning his credibility as someone who claimed to run the hood. This ongoing feud escalated when Lee alleged that Yella Beezy and his crew jumped him at a nightclub, a fight Lee later recounted on Instagram. Afterward, Lee openly challenged Yella Beezy to a one-on-one fight, saying he only needed 4 people by his side against Beezy's usual large entourage. Tensions reached a boiling point. Lee repeatedly taunted Beezy, calling into question his street authenticity and daring him to fight. Meanwhile, Yella Beezy mentioned in an interview that even MO3 had attempted to end the beef, acknowledging that the animosity was becoming too intense. Despite MO3's efforts to mend fences, the rivalry between the factions only deepened. As MO3 continued battling legal and professional setbacks, Yella Beezy teamed up with Trap Boy Freddy and Go Yayo, creating an alliance that would solidify their place in the Dallas rap scene while leaving MO3 on the outside looking in. Fans widely believe that MO3's exclusion from the jam only made the tension worse. However, MO3 himself later told Sean Cotton that he wasn't bothered by it. Things took a dark turn, though, when Roy Lee, a vocal figure in the feud, revealed on social media that he'd been shot in the leg. According to news reports, the incident occurred around 7:50 p.m. on September 28th, while Lee was sitting in a parking lot at Preston Valley Shopping Center. Although he initially seemed to be recovering, Roy Lee tragically passed away due to blood clots in his heart. Following Lee's death, many pointed the finger at Yella Beezy, blaming him for the tragedy. In a Say Cheese TV interview, Trap Boy Freddy claimed that MO3 was responsible, then pivoted to blame Lee himself for getting too involved in the rapper's disputes. Lee's death hit the city hard. MO3 honored him with a custom Roy Lee-inspired chain, while the police launched an official investigation into the shooting. On the streets, however, retaliation was already brewing. Less than a week after Lee's passing, Yella Beezy narrowly survived a shooting. While driving along the Sam Rayburn Tollway, another vehicle pulled alongside Beezy's car and unleashed a hail of bullets, hitting him 8 times. The attack left over a dozen shell casings scattered at the scene, but remarkably, Beezy pulled through. Later, he shared that he had been caught off guard after leaving a nightclub. In the chaos of trying to grab his gun, his car veered off course and crashed. Despite the close call, Beezy appeared defiant, suggesting in interviews that rival rappers like MO3 couldn't handle his success. While Yella insisted he wasn't the one who started the beef, he made it clear he intended to finish it. Meanwhile, MO3 denied any involvement in the shooting, telling Vlad TV that such incidents were unfortunately common in the rap world and he'd rather stay out of the way when things went down. MO3 continued to assert that he had no real beef with Yella Beezy, Trap Boy Freddy, or Go Yayo, maintaining that any perceived conflict was blown out of proportion. Yet, his music told a different story. Shortly after Beezy was shot, MO3 released a cutting diss track titled Word Around Town, which quickly became one of the most talked about tracks in the Dallas rap scene. In the song, MO3 referenced Beezy's shooting directly, rapping lines that alluded to Beezy's near-death experience. Word around town that somebody got found, slumped over in the car, body stretched out on the ground. He didn't stop there. MO3 continued to take jabs, hinting at Freddy's Sprinter bus shooting and even tossing veiled insults at Go Yayo. The lyrics and their implications set the city ablaze. Fans couldn't ignore the intensity of MO3's verses, and his growing buzz only fueled the tension. Go Yayo eventually went live on Instagram, publicly denouncing MO3's claims and accusing him of releasing the track 2/19 on Roy Lee's birthday for clout. He labeled MO3's bars as cap and expressed anger over the disrespect. The online feud between MO3 and his former associates was officially in full swing. The situation reached a boiling point as the back and forth escalated. In November 2020, a tragedy unfolded that shocked the city. MO3 was gunned down on Interstate 35 in Dallas. Dallas police arrived at the scene to find MO3 critically injured. He was rushed to the hospital, but his injuries proved fatal. Reports suggest that MO3 had spent the night at a woman's house and was heading home when he noticed he was being followed by a black Chevrolet Camaro. Inside the vehicle were two armed individuals who seemed intent on killing him. In a desperate attempt to defend himself, MO3 slowed down, brought his car to a stop, and jumped out on the passenger side to grab his firearm. The whole encounter was reportedly caught on a dash cam, but the footage is not readily viewable due to platform guidelines. In the video, it said that the Camaro overtook MO3's car, leaving him vulnerable to the shooter's attack. The murder sent shockwaves through Dallas, cementing MO3's legacy in a tragic, heartbreaking fashion. As MO3's killers closed in, he had mere moments to react. At first, he tried to grab a firearm, but the attackers were too close. Desperate, MO3 abandoned the idea and made a run for it down the highway, hoping to escape. The police later reported that he was struck 9 times, collapsing on the road while his assailants fled in the black Chevrolet Camaro. For MO3's fans, the aftermath was even more heart-wrenching. Emergency response to the scene was delayed, leaving his lifeless body on the highway for hours. In that time, bystanders snapped photos and uploaded them to social media. Gruesome videos showed civilians attempting CPR, but their efforts couldn't save him. The tragedy unfolded before the public eye in real time. What followed was a disturbing wave of celebration from MO3's rivals. Trap Boy Freddy quickly posted a video from his car, stuck in traffic that had backed up near the shooting scene. The clip sparked rumors of his involvement, as it seemed too coincidental. Yet Freddy appeared unfazed by the chatter, soon uploading a tribute to his deceased friends and hinting it was time to celebrate. Meanwhile, Yella Beezy took to Instagram Live, where fans flooded the comments with RIP MO3 and accusations of his involvement in the killing. The city couldn't ignore how Freddy, Beezy, and Go Yayo seemed to be reveling in MO3's death. The loss was a heavy blow to Dallas. It wasn't just about MO3's passing. Reports surfaced of multiple deaths connected to the chaos that erupted after his killing. Fans, devastated by the senseless violence, poured out tributes online. One wrote, "That's my favorite rapper's favorite rapper. I've been listening to him since middle school." Another commented on Reddit, "Man, this one sucks." MO3 was so naturally talented as both a rapper and singer, I thought he was going to be huge. The outpouring of grief underscored just how much Mo3 meant to his community and his fans. In the wake of Mo3's death, many fans began to reevaluate their relationship with rap culture, particularly the darker, more violent side of the industry. One fan shared their growing discomfort, saying, "I'm starting to be less and less into hip-hop at the moment. It's just hard to listen to a lot of these trap drill guys and then see reports of them dying in such gruesome ways." Unfortunately, despite these concerns and calls for change, the violence within the Texas rap scene continued. Just months later, on March 3rd, another tragedy struck. Hood fame rapper G-Dollar Lil Ronnie and his 5-year-old daughter, Roman Sibley, were gunned down in Forest Hill. The pair had been at the Sappy Express car wash when two men approached in a white Kia and opened fire. The scene was chaotic. Witnesses reported hearing over a dozen gunshots, and local residents rushed outside to see what was happening. By the time law enforcement arrived, the crowd at the scene was so large that police had to call in reinforcements. Family members spoke out in the aftermath. Lil Ronnie's aunt, Stella Houston, described him as a good kid and a rapper who didn't go looking for trouble. However, surveillance footage later showed that Ronnie was likely the intended target of the attack. The heartbreaking twist? His young daughter, Roman, was in the car with him and also lost her life. This detail only deepened the community's grief. Some even speculated that the shooters had deliberately ensured that Roman wouldn't survive. On Reddit, one user claimed that circulating footage showed Ronnie trying to shield his daughter, but the attackers still went after her. This tragic incident left the rap community in mourning and further highlighted the need for change within the culture. A shift away from violence and towards a safer, more positive environment for artists and their families. While some reports present conflicting theories, police remain convinced that the fatal shooting was tied to gang-related tensions. Just 2 days after the tragic killing, authorities identified Jacoby Russell and Adonis Robinson as the suspects. On Thursday afternoon, officers arrested 24-year-old Robinson in Livingston, Texas, roughly 75 miles east of Houston. Adonis Robinson's criminal history added a disturbing layer to the case. Police records revealed that Robinson was already known for violence and was listed as a registered sex offender. Court documents obtained by Fox showed that back in 2019, Robinson had been charged and later convicted of assaulting a woman along a trail near Marine Creek Reservoir. His lengthy rap sheet suggests a pattern of dangerous behavior that only deepens the tragedy of this most recent crime. As the investigation continues, fans have begun pointing fingers, blaming Lil Ronnie's gang affiliations and connections to figures like Go Yayo. Some even speculate that rapper Lil CJ Casino might have had some involvement. Regardless of these fan theories, law enforcement insists on following the evidence wherever it may lead. Authorities are committed to bringing every individual connected to this devastating case to justice.